The adventure begins. That's the text Sharon McGrogan receives about 10:30 a.m. at her house in Northwest Indiana, the morning of March 14th, 2014. The text is from her husband, Jim, and is a signal to her that he and his two friends, who've planned their trip to Vail, Colorado for over a year, are finally standing at the start of the trail at 8:30 a.m. their time to begin their weekend of hiking, snowboarding, and hanging with each other. But that's the last text she will ever receive from her husband. Jim McGrogan is a 39-year-old emergency physician from Chesterton, Indiana, with an adoration of the outdoors. He is an avid skier, snowboarder, hiker, anything related to the outdoors, and was even known to run a triathlon or two. Or three. So he sets off from Indiana on his way to Colorado. Since he's flying, he leaves his own snow equipment at home and makes a stop at a rental shop in Denver to gear up. He rents something called a split board, which is a snowboard that can split into two pieces that can be strapped on as skis. And for those split skis, he rents skins. Those are covers for the split skis that allow you to cross-country ski uphill. Basically, they let you move forward, but not backward. He also rents an avalanche probe, an avalanche beacon, a shovel, and a helmet. Add that to the cell phone, extra cell phone battery, GPS, medical kit, food, water, and a sleeping bag that he already has in his pack. I think it's safe to say he's doing a bang-up job of covering all the safety basics. He is a seasoned outdoorsman who has also had training in avalanche survival. I think he's pretty qualified for this hike. Their hike starts at Spraddle Creek Trailhead, where it's a leisurely 9-mile meandering hike that climbs about 3,000 feet with several rest stops along the way until you get to Eisenman Hut, a nice little place for hikers and skiers to rest up, eat, and get ready for their adventures. So the three guys start their hike, and about 2 hours in, they've already covered 4 miles. And in this terrain in winter, that's pretty aggressive. Jim's companions are like, dude, we need to rest for a while. And despite explicitly promising his wife he would never leave the group, Jim says, fine, you rest. I'll meet you up at the next rest stop. But when they get to the next rest stop, Jim's not there. Now, leaving the group shouldn't really have been a big deal. The path they're on has a ton of traffic on it, and it's very well worn and packed down. Plus, the drifts on either side are anywhere from 3 feet to 8 feet tall. It is nearly impossible to not see where this trail goes. But stop after stop, no sign of Jim. By the time his friends make it to Eisenman Hut, with no one having seen him, they call the authorities and report Jim is missing. The hunt for Jim begins immediately. Colorado Search and Rescue doesn't mess around and have a good success rate to prove it. And this search is huge. Everyone is involved. Vail Mountain Search and Rescue, Eagle County Sheriff's Department, Colorado Army National Guard, Rocky Mountain Rescue, Alpine Rescue, search and rescue teams from Larimer, Summit, and Grand counties, and the Salvation Army. That's a lot of well-trained searchers. Over the next 5 days, these searchers would head out on foot and on snowmobiles, and would add 3 helicopters from the nearby National Guard High Altitude Aviation Training Site for good measure. But by Tuesday, March 18th, bad weather forces the search to be suspended. They spend more than 1,000 hours scouring an 18 square mile area, but never find a trace until 3 weeks later. On April 3rd, a call is placed to Vail Public Safety from 3 skiers who have discovered a body just over 1.5 miles up from Booth Trailhead at Booth Falls. Vail Mountain Rescue recovers the body, which is later determined to be that of Jim McGrogan. At the time of his recovery, he's wearing his helmet, black leggings, blue shirt with a black undershirt, and black and gray socks. Searchers also find his backpack. In it are his coat and ski pants, working cell phone, and there is cell service in the area, spare battery, working GPS, and working avalanche beacon, along with all of the other survival supplies he had left with. Now, it certainly is not uncommon for a person to get separated from their group and then get lost in the wilderness. That's why search and rescue teams have jobs. He could have gotten further off the trail than he thought he was, and in an effort to find his way back home, slipped and fell down the frozen waterfalls at Booth Falls. His injuries consisted of massive head trauma, even under his helmet, a broken right leg, and injuries to the right side of his chest, all consistent with a fall from a great distance. Case closed, right? Not even close. I don't even know where to start with the oddities on this one. So let's just dive in. The area where he's found is 4.5 miles from where he was last seen on the trail. However, this equates to a hike of 12 to 14 miles off trail through the snow to actually get there. The hiking trail he was on is impossible to leave without leaving big tracks in the snow, which from the air would stick out like a sore thumb in the surrounding virgin snow. Before the snow fell 5 days after he's missing, there are no tracks visible anywhere off the trail. The area where he's found, Booth Falls, has been searched multiple times with no sign of him. Well, okay, he's not there in the first 5 days of searching because he's hiking over from Eisenman Hut, or at least from the trail leading to the hut, right? Well, to make that 12 to 14 mile hike in 8 feet of snow with 30-foot snowdrifts, he would have had to climb thousands of feet and descended thousands of feet, possibly several times depending on where he started from, and crossed either Middle Creek or Spraddle Creek, again depending on where he started from, in the winter, just to get to the Booth Creek area. Wow, doesn't seem likely. Then there's the trauma to his body, totally consistent with a fall from a pretty big height. But he wasn't found at the base of Booth Falls. He's found a decent distance downstream from the falls, far enough that had he slipped off of the falls, he wouldn't have been able to crawl there by himself with those injuries. The actual spot where he is found has no cliffs or anything anywhere around, so no places of great height where he would have needed to fall from to sustain those catastrophic injuries. And where are his boots? His snowboard is recovered in the general area of his body, and it's not uncommon if somebody falls from a great height that they lose their shoes or their boots. But his boots are never found. Some people might say he took them off while suffering from late-stage hypothermia. Maybe. I mean, he wasn't wearing his jacket either. But the temperatures were not that frigid during those 3 weeks. According to the Eagle County Regional Airport Station, daytime highs are in the 40s and 50s, probably a little cooler on the mountain. Coming from Minnesota myself, I can tell you that if you're hiking in spring in 40-degree weather, taking your coat off is not uncommon. But the boots, where are the boots? He couldn't have gone anywhere, either walking, skiing, or snowboarding, without the boots. And why would he leave the trail at all? Did he make it to Eisenman Hut, get tired of waiting for his friends, and decide to head off on his own? Seems like an experienced outdoorsman like himself would have seen the lack of wisdom in that idea. Maybe he opts to take a little side hike while he's waiting and gets lost. Well, no one at the top even saw him, so there's no evidence that he even made it to the hut. Maybe he tries to take a shortcut and gets lost. Very possible. Except at some point he has to know he's lost. There is a 16-second call from his phone in the afternoon of the 14th, but it doesn't go anywhere, and the phone is never used again. But he has every piece of survival gear he needs to either get himself off that mountain or alert someone who can. Why not use any of it? And if we buy the theory that he hiked the 12 to 14 miles east to Booth Falls, he's thousands of feet above the city. He can see Vail as he's hiking. So if he's lost, why not hike south to safety. And if he dies from a fall, how does that happen when there's no place to fall from? So what happened to Dr. Jim McGrogan? I have no idea, but it seems highly improbable that this entire episode is one gigantic accident, and it seems equally improbable that he ever left that trail voluntarily. But whatever force plucked him off that trail that day and dropped him at Booth Falls will most likely never be known.